We're expecting new developments today in the much-watched Fulton County case against former President Donald Trump and his co-defendants. Now, this specifically involves former Trump Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. Atlanta News First Rebecca Schramm is in downtown here in Atlanta with a look ahead. Good morning to you, Rebecca.
Good morning, Brooks. You know, Meadows just a few months ago made his case, his first attempt right around the corner from here at the federal courthouse to get his Fulton County case moved to the federal courthouse, but that didn't work. Well, today his attorneys will be back at it. This time they'll be making their case here at the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. Take a look, because this was video of Mark Meadows walking into the Richard B. Russell Federal Building back in August. He is one of 19 people originally indicted on racketeering and other charges in the Fulton County election interference case. Meadows testified at that hearing, telling the judge any actions outlined in the indictment happened while he was doing his job as a federal employee. The judge later ruled against Meadows, saying in his opinion, Meadows' actions were done on behalf of the Trump campaign. Well, Meadows is appealing that ruling. His legal team clearly prefers moving the proceedings to federal court to get the Republican a slightly more conservative jury pool. Also, cameras are not allowed in federal court, which the team likely prefers as well. Each side gets 15 minutes to argue before this three-judge panel, but we want to point out that whatever happens here today, the losing side will likely appeal all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. We're live in downtown Atlanta. Rebecca Schramm, Atlanta News First.